Because at the end of the day, there are three components that you want in every brand strategy. And it's, you want it to be authentic to you, the company. So everyone should feel, okay, this is true to who we are. But then you want it to be relevant to your customers. It's like you could have the most authentic brand out there and like, not one customer cares because they're like, all you're doing is talking about yourself.
Welcome to the Value Factory Podcast, brought to you by OneAccord. We're all about helping businesses thrive and grow through leadership, strategy, and meaningful impact. Now, whether you're a seasoned executive or just starting out, our goal is to provide insights and inspiration to help you navigate your journey. Thanks for tuning in.
Here we are. Luke, my buddy, welcome to the Value Factory, my man. First
Nick,
of all, where are you dialing in from? Let's tell the world.
Yeah, I'm in West LA, out in Culver City, kind of right by Santa Monica, for those who are familiar with the area. So it's been good, life in the big city. Didn't know that I'd be here for that long. But
Right on. So our relationship goes back a couple of years, and I just get to introduce you as someone who I, number one, really admire, really respect, I trust. You took me through something that was originally your idea, and that was to create a really meaningful content piece that became a course, that became core curriculum, that really was the bridge between my 25-year career in banking and where I sit today, leading OneAccord, a consulting firm. But that 2-year bridge in between, you played such a meaningful role. And here's the thing. You were able to understand me and to pull from me through interviews and through spending time, even being behind a camera. We shot a lot of film together. You stayed in my house for a few days while we shot days and days worth of film. It was so awesome. But you were able to pull from me the real true essence of the message that I wanted to deliver. And so that's what has me really excited to talk to you about your current endeavor, which is, tell us about it.
yeah, well, I have as much thanks to give to you on that, because that project, I just graduated college with journalism major, entrepreneurship minor, and was like, I don't want to go work for one of these corporations. I want to go out on my own and try doing something. So we were part of that entrepreneurs group over the summer. And I think it all started with me just auditing one of your social media posts. I think you were doing like the middle management lessons at the time. And I was just like, hey, let me give you some advice on this. And then it would just kind of blossomed into that. But yeah, what I loved about the course and what I still reflect on is the process is like very similar to what I'm doing now, which is, what is your story, Nick? Where did you come from? Who are you? Where are you going? Who do you want to help? Like all those big questions. And so we answered them, and then we just put them, I was like, oh, I think a course would be like the best case scenario for reaching the people that you wanted to help at the time. And so like, I had a great time because a lot of people, you come up with the ideas and then it's like, okay, we'll see. But it was like, okay, no, let's iron this thing out. So we came up with the 6 modules, the different lessons, the frameworks of like, what is this? Why is it important? How do I implement it? And then we flew up to Seattle and like you said, stayed in your house for a couple of days. Got to what do we have? The salmon was amazing. We had some Wagyu beef, I think. It's a great time. And then, just getting to see the course, like in the, literally right there in front of you that you could log on and take, and then getting some feedback even from people of how powerful it was in their life. That was the thing that I couldn't really shake when I was at my job, and kind of would show people, oh, this is what I really want to do. And then I was just like, well, why am I not doing it? And that's why.
So for context, I'm 40, I'll be 46 pretty soon. This was a couple of years ago. You had just graduated college. How old were you? Were you 21 even?
I was 22. I was 22 and we started working together.
Yeah. So you say, maybe I can audit your social media. And so I'm 40 something and I'm like, yeah, like you're the kid, like he's going to know more about this stuff than me. And then I was, let's just say impressed with the feedback and the thoughtfulness. It was mature beyond the years that I was ascribing to, a recent college grad. And here it is, I don't know, three weeks into it. And you say to me, have you ever thought about doing a course? Because I'd written a book and I had some curriculum, but building a course, no. And you said, well, what if I help you? Right. And so you saw something in there that actually became a brand that had something to it. Right. It was that brand building. So I'm like thrilled to hear that you've taken the entrepreneurial plunge, skydive, whatever it is.
Yeah.
How's the first year been, man?
So good. Like I was just saying, I guess before good entails the good, the bad, and the ugly. But it's been a year and 10 days since I left my job at Third Bridge, which very, very grateful for the time that I spent there. I think my initial college graduate was like, I don't want to sell out to a corporation. I don't want to do any of this stuff, whatever. And then, but it's only once I left that I was like, okay, I needed that. Like, I learned how to manage client accounts for I own 2 private equity firms there. I worked on a couple of pretty big, if you think of the big consulting firms, I was working on those accounts. And I learned how to develop client relationships, and I learned how to cold call. I learned how to recruit those sweet people. So it was like eating your vegetables in a way. And I'm sure I have more vegetables to eat. So, I don't want to be here 25 and just saying like, everything.
You learned all the lessons, but
I know I have a lot. I know that I have a lot more to learn.
But here's, if I'm 20 years ahead of you, I'm looking at you're 25, and I've got so much respect because, and I think about the clients that we serve, right? You and I are serving the same people, just in different capacities. And these are guys and gals that have been entrepreneurs. They started their companies 10 and 15 and 30 and 40 years ago. And they're looking at you, and they're seeing a bit of themselves in you, and having respect there for being the entrepreneur that knows and understands. Because listen, the work that you do around branding is, well, I'll just say it, like right now, this is it's a real opportunity for us at OneAccord. So let's go into it. Let me tell you, let me bring you up to speed in this conversation and tell me what you think. We've been around 25 years. Company was started by my business partner, Jeff. He's 18 years my senior. He'll say that the first thing God commanded Adam to do is go to work, and there's no reference to the word retirement in the Bible, so he's not slowing down. But I am the next 25 years of OneAccord. This is succession planning happened for years. OneAccord, Jeff Rogers, synonymous, the brand. Mm-hmm. He is the brand, which happens with founder-led organizations, owner-operators, right? That is the brand. Mm-hmm. So here I am. I'm, meet the new boss. Not entirely different, but not the same as the old boss. Like we're values aligned. We have a lot in common from a values perspective, but the way that we go about, the way that we do business, and the vision that we have is similar. So as I'm attempting to introduce OneAccord to the marketplace today, there are things that we are doing that we do differently than we did a year or 2 years ago. There are things that we no longer do that we did a year or 2 years ago. You had a post on LinkedIn, and it said something like, if you interview all the leaders in your company, so if I interview, we got about 25 people working for us. If I interview 25 people and I say, what do we do? Do I get 25 different answers? Do I get 12 different answers? Do I get 3 different answers? Right? Do I have a third of my people saying the right thing and then 1/3 kind of this way, right? And I'm afraid that not all 25 of the people that are a part of OneAccord are going to give the same answer. Mm-hmm. That's the reality. And then I think to myself, why isn't the market responding to our messaging? Mm-hmm. You ever hear that before?
Yeah, it's it's a big pain point for what I do. And I think, you've kind of nailed a few of the key pain points that people would feel, or companies will feel when they might need a rebrand or some messaging help, but I don't really know it. And it's like, okay, have you shifted leadership recently? Was the leadership one way, now it's another way? Is the culture at the company just changing? What, with tech, whatever. Are the services that you're offering changing? Is the way that you want to present changing? So it's like brand, you'll always have a brand, and it's really just a question of, am I being intentional about it, or am I being unintentional about it? Because like at the end of the day, what brand really is it's this answer to, why should I trust you to deliver what I need? You're communicating that every day through your employees, your customer service department, your sales department, your marketing department, your HR department. Like everyone in the organization is communicating answers to that. And those could either be, wow, I really enjoyed that interaction with that rep, or it's like the worst. I have my moments. One of the things that a big pet peeve I have is if someone's like, just those little moments, you have the opportunity to be nice and they like miss it, or they kind of go the other way. And it's like, oh man, like now I have a negative perception of that brand because of that one opportunity. And it's like, but the counter side of that, I had a tuxedo for a suit or for a wedding that I was in that had to get overnighted because it was too small. My mistake for not trying it on sooner. But they moved like heaven and earth to get that for me. And I'm like, okay, like next time I have a wedding, I'm gonna go to suit shop. And so when you think about brand, like most people are kind of think about the end products of, okay, logo, color scheme, font, like all this stuff. Like it's a lot of people think, oh, it's marketing, but really it's just like when people think of you, what do they think? And are you being intentional about that? And so when you go back and look at like a transition like what you've just had with Jeff, it's how are we taking the story of where OneAccord was, and how are we moving it forward to where we want to be, and how are we doing that in a way that honors our past, but then is like future looking, so that our customers and employees aren't saying like, well, like overnight you've just become a different company. It's okay, no. Like we have our company history and we have who we were, but this is who we want to be. And a good brand strategy is based in what your employees are actually saying. So it's like you talk to everyone and 99% of the people say something different than what you want. It's like, okay, well, now I got a bit of a problem on my hands, or not a problem, but an opportunity to realign and say like, what am I missing in this company that all my other leaders are seeing? Or if everyone's on the same page about something and it's different than what's currently being presented to the public in your messaging, it's like, okay, well, let's do the work and come up with something that really resonates, because that's how you get people that believe, is when you're really oriented around that purpose, that answer again to why should people trust us.
The work. You said, let's do the work. And that's one of those 4-letter word works. Because it is like, I know what the brand is. It's perfectly clear in my head. And I've said it at least once or twice when other people were in the room. So they should know it too. I even wrote it in an email once or twice. So like it's in writing. I live the brand every day, but my experience is not the same experience of everybody on the team. And they don't hear it enough. Like I just know this. I talk with people on the team all the time and they have a question about something where it's like, we talked about that in the meeting and you were in the room. Doesn't mean they were paying attention or connected or that it stuck, right? So the doing the work part, coming up with the brand, the colors, the tagline. We do the 1-day, 2-day offsite, vision, mission, values, right? That can be both exhausting and it can feel good when we're all done. Mm-hmm. But that isn't the work, man. Yeah. That's not the work.
Yeah. I mean, so it's interesting. Mainly what I've been kind of focusing on up to this point has been, how do we come up with a brand that's actually good? Because there's a lot of, in some ways, not to disagree, but pushing back a little bit, it's like you got to, what you just said, like taking a 1 or 2 day offsite, or even a few months, like you have to once you decide on your brand and the direction you're going, like it's hopefully you did some work to see that you're going in a good direction, because if that's what you're going to rely on for the next 20 years or 5, 10, 15, 20 years until you do another rebrand, like good luck. And so for me, it's like I think what kind of makes the services that I'm offering different, and then the background that I have really feeds into this, is it's you got to kind of hone in and do your research. And I was a journalism major again. And then before that, I mean, like, I feel like I've been working on stuff for more than a decade because I had a podcast of my own before, way back in high school, and had to build the brand there. And it's like, you gotta talk to your employees, give them ownership over the process. I mean, that's part of it. If you give them like, hey, if one day you show up and say, here's our new brand, they're going to be like, what the heck?
Well, and
if you're involved,
it's not even accurate.
It's like, oh,
tell someone it's unless my brand is disconnected from the people working in the company. But when is that ever really the case?
Yeah, well, I mean, it can be. And I think when leadership leads from the top down, or if the brand, like you said, can get a little too interconnected with certain, like the one leader. Because at the end of the day, there are three components that you want in every brand strategy. And you want it to be authentic to you, the company. So everyone should feel, okay, this is true to who we are. But then you want it to be relevant to your customers. It's like, you could have the most authentic brand out there, and like, not one customer cares because they're like, all you're doing is talking about yourself. So it needs to be, here's our story, here's how it affects you, the customer, and here's how it'll help you. And then the last part is like differentiated. So, kind of the example that I've been thinking a lot about is like Colgate and Crest toothpaste. It's like, honestly, like, I can barely tell you which one I've been using, but I know I've been using it for the last like however many years, because they look and feel like pretty much the same. I think I use Colgate, but and then like, if you see Sensodyne, that's a newer, completely different packaging, completely different feel, completely different. And so again, you want to be differentiated from your competition. So again, it comes down to that. We want to be authentic to ourselves and our story. We want to be relevant to our customers, and we want to be differentiated from our competitors. And when you do that, again, by having a lot of research that's backing up your strategy, so you're not just kind of whimsically deciding in an insular environment with just your company too.
Yeah. The research that we have a unique opportunity to tap into is 25 years of existence. We can look at, where did our customers come from? Why did they come to us? What did we do for them? What did we try that people didn't buy? What did we try that failed? And so we can understand on some level, like, what our customers think of us, what they want from us. But we also have, there's people that work here that have been here for 15 and 18 years. So there's that history also. We did this really interesting kind of relook at our core values. So we, before my time, adopted truth, compassion, and service as our three core values. Truth, compassion, and service. And the way we make sense of that is that we have to tell our clients, who are the owners of companies, we have to tell them truth in a way that is compassionate, because we know from our clients as the owners of business, and I live this, man, I live this. People don't tell me the truth. They often tell me what they think I want to hear, so that I will buy whatever they're selling, bring them, give them work, right? They perceive me in this decision-making capacity so that I don't get necessarily the truth. There's a running joke with internally, this curtain behind me, right behind the blue one is a red one. Somebody wanted a red curtain. And I said, yeah, I'm delegating, and you know this from the course, right? I'm delegating both the authority and the responsibility. Like, setting up this studio, that's on you. They wanted a red curtain. I didn't really want a red curtain. I could have just said, okay. A year later, somebody says, why don't we have a blue curtain? It's more on brand. It's with our colors. And I was like, cool. Like, I actually like blue more. So I put up a blue curtain. And then another person was like, thank you for changing it to blue. Like, I'm like, why didn't you tell me? Well, I thought you really liked the red. Okay. So in that story are a couple of things. Number one, blue is on brand. Red is not on brand. I can justify red all the day long. I left it on there. I can pull these back. If I'm doing just a talking head piece with a red background, it pops on social media and that works really well. But in the context of what we're building here, it's not on brand. But the other story is that of not being told the truth. There were a few other things that came after that. And so I would say, is this a red curtain scenario? And immediately the person I was talking to was like, you know what? You're right. Here's how I really think. Oh man. Okay. So we go down this road. Truth, compassion, service. Need to tell the truth with compassion. Just delivering truth doesn't always land really well. And we are, we're servants. This helps us identify who we bring in. These are our values, keeps us on brand. So I wanted to introduce another core value. I'm competitive. I like to win. Jeff, my partner, is very competitive. He's a race car driver, for crying out loud, very competitive, but it hasn't been a part of our core values, right? This competition, this winning. So we had a robust debate over adding a fourth core value. This actually went on for weeks. Do we add something in the ethos of winning or competitive or, right? And ultimately, we didn't adopt a fourth core value, although the conversation remains open, right? So bringing all this together, 25 years of history, honoring the past, but also not wanting to just pivot away and move in a new direction too quickly. But as we evolve through our brand identity, and you went through a checklist, new leader, new service offerings, discontinuing some service offerings, like how much can we change at once? But here's the punchline. I'm still competitive. So this is going to show up as a part of our brand just by virtue of the fact that I'm here, right? It's going to come out.
Yeah. Well, and that, so it's interesting. I mean, there's kind of another subset of questions to answer that initial one for your customers of why should we trust you to deliver what we need? And it's, okay, what are you going to do for me? Why are you doing it for me? How are you doing it for me? That's those values. And last is, how are you going to make me feel? And so if we go back through that, the red versus the blue, let's say we want them to feel like they can trust us. We want our customers to feel like we're the experts. We want them to feel calm, hopefully, probably when they're working with us. We want them to feel like, oh, the room is on fire. And so, maybe red might evoke emotions that we don't really want. But then when you look at your values, it's really like, we're saying we're going to do this. How are we going to do it for you? And if it's like, okay, we're going to tell you the truth. We're going to be compassionate and then we're ultimately of service to you, but we also want to win. So we want you to win. And that, you mentioned the real work. So there's the strategy, you come up with the strategy and it's like the foundation, but it's like building a house. Like you build the foundation, it takes a long time, but it's not, then you got to frame the house. You do all the, there's so many different aspects, maybe a year and a half before it's actually finished. And I think it's the same thing with the brand. For a lot of my clients, it's like, okay, we came up with a strategy and then what's the next 12 months look like? And where are we implementing this across? Because you got your employees, you got to get your employees on board. You got to get kind of some visual identity, brand identity, like you mentioned. And then, it's like, okay, who are we going to start? How are we going to communicate this to our customers? And then what about people who we're going to hire? And it's like, all of those questions are things that you can have that strategy and it's great. You have the nice deck on your computer and you spend a lot of money on it. And, some person like me is like, oh yeah, I'm really happy with this. But it's at the end of the day, that's worthless if it doesn't get implemented.
That's right.
So I think that's where, then it comes of okay, the more people that we involve in the process of coming up with the brand, the more ownership they're going to feel as we actually begin implementing it. And I think that's the beauty of doing some of the, I offer employee workshops and company research. And it's the beauty of that is you're getting to just talk to people about the company. And you might come across okay, maybe it's not competitive, but maybe it's cutting edge or because it's like a big Venn diagram. You got everyone saying these different things. And what I love about this is just like, Nick said this and so did Jeff and so did this person and that person. And then let's like take that out and, everyone kind of resonates with that idea. And it might even be something, I had a client, I just posted about them yesterday on LinkedIn actually. And they're called Game Change. And they're kind of an inspirational sports media company. And internally, they're throwing around this term. They're like, this guy's a game change coach. This guy's a game change athlete. Like all this stuff. They're saying this all the time internally. And at one point I was like, guys, like, you realize this is like gold. Like you've got a golden identity that you can give to your customers that currently like is only being used internally, like colloquially. And so then we turn it around. And we're like, okay, our people are the game change athletes. And like anyone who hears that knows what that means. Like it's like someone who plays for something bigger than the game. And so, we got a manifesto. Like what is the manifesto of a game change athlete? We got some creative work that we're trying to do on that. We've got programs at high schools and stuff like that we're working on, documentaries that we were trying to feature. So it's like that one idea was just being like tossed around. And sometimes you need someone else who's outside of the culture to look in and say, you guys are like, what you have on your website is nothing like what's actually going on at this company. And that's totally fine. I mean, we all have our heads in the weeds. I have my head in the weeds with my company. It's like, geez, I've been like working on stuff for myself and it's hard for me to get that perspective. And then I finally talked to a friend and they're like, oh, what about this? And you're like,
so funny.
Yeah, that's a good idea. So I think that's the advantage too of, people have give consultants a bad rap, but it's like just getting someone from the outside to give you a look in. And then, someone who's not going to give you the deck and be like, well, good luck. I hope you figure it out. It's like, there's a little bit more work beyond building the foundation of the house.
You're right. You said something that I'm going to take away from this, which is, you didn't say it exactly, but here's what I heard you say, is it's going to take a year for this renewed brand identity, the new brand identity, whatever it is, the clarified brand identity to really take hold. And I'd say that I started with the company in 2024, January 2024. So it was by the end of 24 that in that first year, the brand became clear to me. Now I thought I was seeing it throughout, but I was looking and I was projecting onto the company my own desires, right? Seeing some things, but projecting other things. And so now it's revealed, it's clarified, but I still have to have conversations with people in the marketplace and educate. I was just talking to one of my guys an hour ago, and he says, when I introduce myself, he'd say, "Hi, I'm Leo. I'm with OneAccord. No, we don't do M&A." Hey, because the brand over 25 years, for at least 10 of those years, included activities that we don't do anymore. We've narrowed our focus down. And just like you gave the example of the tuxedo, or you gave the example of one kind of misstep or mistake and your interaction with a company and you kind of ascribe a negative, right? People only understand OneAccord based on the way in which they have interacted with us at some point over this 25-year continuum. So it may have always been good. Let's say every interaction that people have had with us have been good over 25 years, but they've been different. At one point we offered this, at another point we offered this, and another point we offered this, as we were kind of going with the market, understanding, we'd bring different people in with different talents. And like, these are natural ebbs and flows. Like any business that's been around 25 years has done things differently, but there are people in the marketplace that only know us about that interaction in 2018 or that interaction in 2012 or that interaction in 2008 or even that interaction in 2022. Whereas today, here's our focus and our offer. So the work of the brand identity, solidifying, taking it deep, it's going to take a while.
Yeah. And, it's interesting that there's actually a lot of neuroscience behind branding. That we relate to brands in the same way that we relate to people. So like it activates the same neural networks. And so it's like if you grew out hair, it'd take me some adjustment to be like, okay, Nick's no longer he's a different guy now, and you start wearing shorts and a tank top. I don't know if you do that off camera. That's going to take me a little bit of time mentally to shift. I think, there are two ways, and Simon Sinek talks about this. Is actually one of the things that really got me into branding. You can define yourself by two things. One is what you do, and then two is why you're doing it. And so again, I mentioned those 4 questions. It's like primarily like, why should I trust you to deliver what I need is like your brand. And then it's, what are you going to do? But also, why are you doing it? And that what like can shift. So the company that Simon Sinek talks about that I really enjoy thinking about, we all know Apple. And it's like, when we think of Apple, we think of a company that's innovative. Like we think of these ideas, these kind of aspirations of who we could be. And like, I like to think like if Apple launched a car tomorrow, I really don't think anyone would question it. They'd be like, oh, like, that's cool. Like I could see that for Apple. And then the other example that he gives in the book is Dell. And he says, when you think of Dell, like you think of a computer company. Because Dell's not defined by why they're doing what they're doing, but they're defined by, what they do. And so if Dell launched a car tomorrow, I'd be like, I don't even really like their computers, to be honest. Car, like they're going to make a car. I mean, even if I like their computers, I just grew up an Apple guy, so I'm biased. And so I think when you're looking at building a brand that's timeless, it's not just about, you want to be culturally astute too, but it's like, who are we in a sense of like what are we aiming for? What kind of world do we want to create? And so again, you get into that, okay, why are we doing this? It's like, what is your vision? Like if in 50 years, are you hoping to have, companies that are hoping to work with like these certain types of customers, companies? What do you want to see out of the world? And I think for Apple, you look and it's like, okay, we want to build a world that's like easy and accessible for everyone, where people can innovate ideas as easily as possible. And it's like now they've expanded their like range of operations to, you could do, they launched a VR headset, and it's like, I probably gonna take a few years before that catches on. But it's like, think of the things that they've done. They've done iPhones, iPods, they've got computers, they've got displays, they have iCloud, like all these different things. And it's because we think of Apple as like, oh, they're just kind of making my life easier and giving me the space to innovate. And so like when I think of a company that I want to work for and like help with their brand, it's like, are you kind of focused on like, this is what we do and like we're always going to do this? And like, so like that's great. You could probably come up with a cool brand for a few years until AI takes it over and you're not doing that anymore. Or you could be, okay, why? Like, why are we doing this? Well, we want to help people live easier lives. We want to help people to live healthier lives. We want to expand access to things that most people don't have. And it's like, today let's take healthier lives. Like today I'm making a vitamin, and then tomorrow I'm creating a electronic health records software that's going to help like doctors with their prescriptions or something. And that's just an example I made up, but it's like when you're oriented around that why, like the world opens up to you. And then when your products and services change, you don't say, we're changing your company. You just say like the best way to accomplish our vision changed, and we came up with a new mission. And that's, I think, like when you want to make a timeless brand, because like ultimately, it's companies like that have the most value, and people trust them.
We've had a tagline for years. Sometimes it's referred to as the mission: building value built on values. We lean on those values of truth, compassion, and service. But this, and share this with you before we started, this is my most recent book. So it's titled Your Business Could Be Worth More. And that why question, I come from a family of entrepreneurs, and I've watched my mom close a business that she ran with my aunt for 20 years, basically just shut out, turn off the lights, close the doors, and walk away. They could have sold the company that they started, but they didn't like to. I just like to believe they didn't know how. Mm-hmm. Same thing, the company that my dad worked for, they wanted him to be an owner, and he always would say no. But at the end of their run, they just shut it down. They'd effectively bought themselves jobs. Didn't realize that there was more value in those companies than just providing a good life for 20 or 30 or 40 years. And I look at, there's people on the internet these days that will say to a younger generation, buy boring businesses from boomers. And all you have to do is tech enable one of these boring businesses, and you can turn around and just extract a whole bunch of value. Mm-hmm. And I straddle the millennial, Gen Y, and the boomers, right? I'm right in, and I'm like, no, the boomers need to get their value out of these companies. I think about my mom and the value that she created that she did not get to enjoy. And then I think of myself and my wife and the company that Ariana has started. And I have to say, it cannot just be a job. It can't just be 10 years or 20 years of working for myself. It has to be the case that we are building something of value. And I've always loved the business of business. 25 years I was in banks. Entrepreneurs were like my superheroes, more than sports stars. I like entrepreneurs. So there's a why there. I don't know that we do a good job of articulating that in the brand. And I don't know if it's shared amongst all of our people. And I don't know if it necessarily has to be. But that's an interesting exploration. I could keep talking to you because I love you. I could keep talking to you for a long time. Where does somebody get connected with you if they want to talk more?
Yeah, I'm working on launching a website right now. So in the meantime, best place is going to be LinkedIn, where you can schedule time with me on Calendly. But my LinkedIn is Luke Scorzell. It's kind of a weird last name, but SCORZIELL. And then you can also just email me at lukescorzell@gmail.com. But yeah, I mean, even you're talking and I'm like, what's the why there? And it's like, enjoy your value, or like make the most of what you've built, things like that. And the thing, beyond anything else, I guess that I would just want to hammer home is like, when you have a good brand and a good purpose, like people aren't motivated by you being like, here's a raise, here's an extra PTO day. All of that stuff's great. It's like, they're motivated because they believe, like you're all believing in the same thing. And if that's that's a really powerful story that you just told. And it's like, my mom built a business, she sold it and she didn't get what it was worth. My goal is to make sure that never happens to you, and boom, like I want that. I need that. Like I'm going to retire in 10 years. Like, how do I work with Nick to make sure that when I sell my business, or one, that I even know that I can sell my business, and two, that I get the most value. So yeah, I could also go on and on. Love talking to you and love talking about this stuff. But yeah, if you want to get in touch, just LinkedIn's the best way. And then I think playing around with names, I think if I should reveal what I'm thinking about right now, but
no, don't do it now. Don't do it now.
I've got some stuff because the cobbler's son has no shoes.
Yeah.
So I got to do
I know.
my own bread.
I know this. Like, it is so true. And here's the thing. Like, I think our clients, your clients, my clients can appreciate that, knowing that your time and energy is focused on serving clients. And then on the same, in the same breath, same breath, I work so hard to take the medicine that we prescribe, internally here, as we are leading organizations through transition and growth. We need to be leading ourselves effectively through transition and growth. All the while, man, I understand what it is, the stuff that our clients are experiencing every day, because I'm living it every day. I could be super critical of our brand right now in this conversation, feeling insecure and vulnerable, talking to a guy that, like, I don't know, don't look at my stuff. Right.
Well, but and that's my what do you want to walk away from this conversation feeling is not shoot, like I got it. It's a journey, like everything. I mean, I've spent
No, I'll tell you what I'm walking away from this conversation with is something that I'm actually going to do, which is I'm going to tell more of my mom's story.
Yeah.
That's
You tell that, and then that's all you need. It's don't overcomplicate it. It's what is authentic to me, relevant to my customers, and differentiated from my competitors. And I feel like, that story, it's the spot. Probably other work that you could do too, but I think the thing I'm learning is you're not gonna get it on day one. Like, I've been posting on LinkedIn. It's like, oh, post this, worked, sort of, didn't work. Next day, iterate. Next day, iterate. Next day, iterate. And it's like, here's my brand. So do the strategy, come up with the stuff, and then start moving. But don't sit in the gate too long.
That's right. So good to see you, Luke.
Yeah, likewise.
Let's do this again. When you unveil your website, we'll run it back.
That's perfect.
Cool.
Maybe I got some other surprises. Maybe I'll return the favor.
Awesome. All right, man. Be good.
Yeah, you too.
Cool.
Sweet. That was fun. Thank you.